This is what was supposed to happen today. Perth is a bowling pitch. Fine, cool, we get you. But on day one, you score runs. In fact, you score a lot of them. But then on day two, the bowlers come back into it. But again, it still remains a batting wicket. Then we get to the snake cracks. Truly the worst kind of cracks. And by the time the wicket opens up, there is no chance for anyone to score any runs. So the curator thought, no, I must fix this. With rain around, he decided to keep the moisture in the surface just a little bit longer. A touch of green grass out there so that later in the match we would have some good batting conditions. This is what we got. Not some wickets, all the wickets. We got full wickets, straight wickets, short wickets, seam wickets, grassy wickets, fast wickets, bouncy wickets, skiddy wickets. You want a wicket? Come on in, wicket lovers. If we don't got it, you don't want it. The two number threes faced nearly 100 balls while combining for 2 runs. Marnus was playing and missing like that was his intention. And people were talking about defensive techniques, but the ball was seeming around 0.8 degrees for most of the day. And let me explain that to you. At 1 degree, it's unplayable. And it was well above 1 degree consistently. It would be tough to face a first-class trundler on these conditions. These guys had to do it against Hazelwood and Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, just give up. How do you get 17 wickets in one day? The answer is easily. Thanks to MV Play, I was able to make this. Their advanced technology can help any cricket team elevate their skills and performance. Wickets have been falling a lot in Australia. This isn't the case traditionally. In ye olden days, Australians all averaged about 50 and snarled through gritted, gnarled mustaches at anyone who averaged under 40. Now, just staying in is an issue. Around 2015, you could see just how many extra balls batters got on Australian wickets. Sometimes up to 15 more per dismissal. It was a whole different world then, and now everything has changed. In 2020, we had our first year with the new Kookaburra ball, with its reinforced seam and extra lacquer. Since then, batting in Australia has been like everywhere else. Horrendous. In fact, this year, it's even worse than everywhere else. Maybe it's that extra pronounced seam hitting those harder wickets, doing all the damage. But it doesn't matter. This poor Perth curator put in 1 touch of grass to scare off all these snake cracks. And right now, because of what he did, it doesn't matter if the wicket is going to bat well on day 3. We may not make it that far. And if you were thinking that this is just happening to overseas players, then obviously you've missed the most recent batting drought of the Aussies. I mean, why couldn't they find an opener? Well, because no one in Shield cricket can make a run at all anymore. That new ball with result pitches means that batting in the top 3 is a death wish. McSweeney doesn't make runs when he bats at number 3. In fact, he makes them all at number 4 and even more when he's down at number 5. Yet he is opening for Australia in a test match because of all the runs he's made down the order. Usman Khawaja has been podcasting about this. No one in Shield cricket is making runs. And the bad news is that the same thing is happening to the test team. Khawaja has seemingly run dry after another great 3-year period. People used to say that Marnus only made runs when he was dropped. Well, India would have had to have dropped him 17 times today for him to make it to 30. Steve Smith was in a form dip at number 4, so he opened. And that got worse. And he came back to number 4 and he's made a golden duck. I'm not sure what the next option is. Travis Head was a World Test Championship final star, but he's been struggling of recent times. And Alex Carey was about to be dropped before a career-saving ton against New Zealand. And we have Pat Cummins on this list partly for scale, but also because his batting really isn't that much worse than the other guys listed here. The Australians have stopped scoring runs, but then so has everyone else. This is just where Australian cricket is right now. Test batting hasn't been down this bad since World Series cricket seemed to inspire a funk in the late 1970s. In the 1950s, no one wanted to score, which was lucky because no one could. And the last time batting was majorly worse than it is right now against pace bowling was before World War I. That is when cows used to walk on the wickets and shit on them to grow the grass, or something like that. The pace playing pandemic is legit. The wobble ball and Kookaburra's supersonic ball have changed cricket as we know it. And it happened at a time when players spent less time than ever before in first-class cricket and more time switch-hitting their reverse scoop slogs. And while T20 will be blamed for this, the same way that it was blamed in the 1990s when we had a bit of a dip, although that was nothing like this, and then afterwards we got a ton of runs. Attacking batting, or lack of defense, is only a part of the problem here. I mean, for instance, if you look at India's first 3 wickets, there were 2 guys who were late on their shots in Perth, which is a little bit like saying water is wet. And Kohli was out with extra bounce. Again, very normal for a subcontinental player who's playing in Perth. And let's be honest, when batters did defend well, it didn't matter because they were stuck without any scoring options. And all the attacking ones seemingly led to more wickets. When it comes down to it, even before the batters started playing T20 cricket, we could track ball movement. And when the ball moves this much at pace against these kinds of bowlers, what are you supposed to do? In Perth, a little bit of seam is going to feel like an absolute load because you have less time than at other grounds. Today, only Rishabh Pant playing funny bugger cricket looked like he had any time at all. And what about the bowlers? Well, Jasprit Bumrah is like a functional AI that mops up information so quickly, but also knows how many R's there are in strawberry. 3. He looked at the Australian bowling, licked his finger, put it in the air and said, I think they're about 78 centimetres too short. And he was right. Josh Hazlewood spent a couple of years chasing the white ball cash, and he became great at that, but he struggled with the red ball. And he is now recommitting to his one true love. And how is that going? Well, he might actually be the most informed bowler in Test cricket at the moment, and still not the best bowler in this match. You've got players like Mitchell Starc who've been in a bit of a funk. In fact, no one knew which Starc was going to turn up. Was it the Test bowler who'd been fading from the game, or the guy who looked fresh and firing in the early Australian summer? It turns out it might not have mattered anyway, as this is his favourite wicket in Australia to bowl with a new ball. But maybe the real story today is Mitch Marsh. He spent about half an hour practicing at lunch because his body had to be stretched and loosened just so he could bowl again. He's only bowled one spell in professional cricket since the IPL ended in April. And when he bowled that time, he got injured. And yet this time on this wicket, he took 2 victims in 5 overs. It felt like at a certain point, it didn't matter who was bowling, they were just going to get someone out. I mean, Mohammad Siraj looked at this wicket and he felt an inner warmth that he hasn't felt in such a long time. Harshit Rana bowled a dream ball on debut. I mean, 17 fucking wickets fell today. And Pat Cummins was the worst of the seamers. That is where we are right now. 17 wickets on Pat Cummins' day off. Wickets, wickets, wickets. The story of modern Test cricket. I have a book out with Abhishek Mukherjee, and it is called Overthrowing Cricket's Empire. And it's about the stories of how each team beat England for the first time. We go all the way back to the demon Fred Spofforth getting annoyed at W.G. Grace for acting a little bit like Alex Carey. And then we come all the way to present times with Rashid Khan's England's redemption. We cover every single team to beat England in a major international, but we also talk about the incredible stories, like the barefoot basher from Fiji that almost played for New Zealand. In fact, this book is full of tales like that, like how Pakistan lost a top batter after he was on the run from an angry husband of a movie star he was having an affair with, and also how one future captain of his nation realised he might have to go out and bat at Lords and that he didn't own his own pads. Cricket was used as a tool by the empire, but what happens when those nations grow up and get good at it? Find Overthrowing Cricket's Empire on Amazon today.